Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to another focus session. My name is Steve Clark. I'm the Director of Customer Success here at OwnerRez, and my pleasure today to meet with you to talk about the new MyStay guest portal. So we released a first look about this, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, right before it was released. And, when it was released, there was a lot of questions, a lot of, you know, things people were just fearful of. So definitely want to do this focus session to show you exactly what MyStay is, what it isn't, and what it's going to be. So really excited to share all this. Zach is in the audience. He is on our marketing team, so he's going to help me with getting the questions answered and in the right place. But if you do have any questions as I'm speaking, anything I can, clarify, there is a Q&A section. Just make sure you put the question there. Sometimes chat can get busy and I might not see the things in the chat. So if you can put it in the Q&A for us, that really helps us focus on it. So, and this is going to be recorded. It will be on our webinars page moving forward. Plus, Zach, I think, is going to email everybody that registered for this. So, once again, don't feel you need to take, copious notes because you can always rewatch this later. So, all right, all that being said, let's go ahead and get into it. So today I want to cover, why MyStay? What is it? Well, why did we create it? There's a whole new feature in it called booking requirements. And so we're going to talk about what that is and how those look. We're going to talk about how you send this to guests, what the guest sees, what the new guest experience is, how it helps you better manage the progress throughout the booking flow, and then some best practices on how you can set up, some advice, things of that nature. And then we're going to end with the roadmap, things we've already identified as changes we want to make to this and new features we want to add to it. So I think that will be exciting to hear about. So, all right. So the new MyStay experience, what is it? Really, like I said, why did we build this? So MyStay completely streamlines the guest onboarding, replacing what was kind of disconnected steps. Before the BU fix-up, as many of you are familiar with, that field code took you to 4 different forms. And and I'm going to show you those here in just a second, but each one was basically, standalone forms. And if a guest left midway, they might bounce more often. So we really wanted to simplify things all into one form to make it very easy. It also makes it so if they do leave and they come back, they can pick up right where they left off. So that's really slick. Also, gives you better visibility. Within the tool, you can see. Before there was always the question, who signed my renter agreement? Who hasn't signed my renter agreement? Am I getting them to sign it? It wasn't real clear. Now it's going to be very clear who's met your requirements, who hasn't met your requirements, who maybe you need to follow up with. And then one of the biggest reasons we redid this was to make a better mobile experience. The old forms were they were made 10 years ago on ASP, something we don't even use anymore. Now everything's Bootstrap 5, HTML, Bootstrap 5, and every page and thing that we make now is totally mobile responsive. It looks differently on a mobile phone than it does on the computer. And as things have progressed and changed, more and more of your guests, they aren't booking from a computer, right? They're booking from their phone. So we wanted this to work really well on the phone. So that was really the main impetus for doing this. Plus, just demand. A lot of you have asked, we want a portal where guests can go to learn more about what's going on, and eventually even make edits to it and stuff. So that's this last point is the foundation for the future. Now having this in place, we can add all these cool things we've wanted to add for years, and I'll go into that when I get to the roadmap screen. So, all right. So the old experience, just to remind you, a lot of people didn't even realize maybe what they were sending to their guests because they never looked at it from the guest point of view, right? But it was not mobile friendly. If you tried to resize it on a mobile screen, it just didn't react well. like I said, it was 4 separate forms. So, the people kind of stepped through, and it was very clear they're no longer on Airbnb or VRBO. Remember, this whole workflow is for channel guests for the most part. If you're getting a direct booking, that goes through a confirm and pay, which isn't this process. This is for channel bookings. So we want them to be very, like it says, outdated interface, older looking forms that degrade trust and legitimacy. We wanted them to trust that what they're looking at is that you're a professional host and that it's in their best interest to fill this out. So I just zoom in on some of these. Like this was the first page they would come to. It would give them just very basic info and tell them kind of what they have to do next. And when they clicked next, it would, sorry, I have these open on another tab. It would take them to this screen, which, gathered their information. But once again, this is kind of really old and outdated looking. And then the last one, then it took them to the rental agreement on a separate page. And then it took them to this, this beautiful page that tells them that it's complete. So I'm going to show you the new experience. It looks so much cleaner, so much better. So I think your guests are really going to enjoy it. So yeah, let's go ahead, and I'm just going to flip out of the slideshow real quick and go to the actual experience. So now guests are taken to this. When you use BU FixUp, however you want to send that to them, it's still up to you in your templates where you want to send it to them. Now, we do have a template that when you first connect to Vrbo or Airbnb, we make that for you, that at the time of booking, we recommend sending them this link. And when they come, it's, it is themed to you. Now, that is one of the things that maybe we're looking at changing. Some people were concerned, well, hey, if it's an Airbnb booking and now I have my website down in my theme, Airbnb might get upset. So we are looking at maybe adding different themes for different channels or being able to adjust that. So that's coming real soon. But so don't be concerned about that. But like I said, they can see information about their stay, see the dates that they picked. And then basically it's very clear, here's the next steps that they have to go through. So I'll come back to this, but I just wanted to show you at a glance what it looked like compared to what it used to look like. This is so much prettier. And then on the phone, right? Like now, if I put this onto a phone, I mean, it's a very good experience on the phone as well. So like I said, that's the main reason why we wanted to update these forms. So, all right, moving on. Well, I see the chat. Appreciate that, Peter, and hello, Andrea. Lots of familiar names so I appreciate you guys coming today. All right, so let's go back into here. So once again, the new thing that's kind of different, and I think caused a lot of people questions, is this booking requirements. Before you kind of had these requirements anyways. It's just these were separate. You could base triggers off of, is the renter agreement signed? Do I have an authorized security deposit? But you had no way to visualize if those things were or weren't done. So what we've done is now put right in the booking overview, you can see, have they done these things and when did they do them? So it's very clear who you need to follow up with, who you don't need to follow up with. Carl, I'll just address this real quick. You said, so this is only for channel bookings, Airbnb, Vrbo, etc. How do we get the email if the booking comes in through Airbnb? Yeah, so I mean, with Airbnb, your template is going to be an Airbnb message. So you're going to send the link just like you do today. You have a BU fix-up that goes out through the Airbnb messenger, and that's how you get their email address. So nothing's really going to change. I'm going to go into that more. If you have templates set up with BU fix-up, we made this so it still works with that same BU fix-up link. It just looks a lot better. So yeah, but it's not for direct bookings in the sense that when a direct booking, they go through your website or widget or however you're doing a direct booking, they're going to go through the confirm and pay, and they're basically doing a very similar process anyways. So all the requirements have to be met for a direct booking to be finalized. So yeah, this is mainly for channel bookings. It's that request channel agreement or request agreement for channel bookings. If you look at that template in your system, and I'll show you that here more in a minute. But so, all right, the booking requirements, like I said, it gives you these essential details right within reach. Um, it allows you to access the guest portal. If you click on these three dots, I'll show you that, but you can see what the guest sees by going to the guest portal. You can see if they've updated the info. Airbnb might send you some info, but they don't send all of it. Like Carl just said, we don't get the email address, right? So, this is how they're going in to verify all those things, like their email, their phone number, the things that Airbnb or VRBO doesn't send to you automatically, you're going to be getting through this link. It also, once again, gives you real-time tracking of signed agreements, deposits, insurance, all of that good stuff. So, and once again, if I go back into the app, this is all right here on this booking overview. So I'm in a booking here, and I can see, oh, this guy hasn't done anything, right? He's never visited my guest portal. He hasn't confirmed his contact info. He hasn't signed the renter agreement. He hasn't done any of these things. And we'll show you how that updates real time here when I get to the demo. I'm going to walk through like I'm a guest and we'll complete all these things. All right, on to the next one here. So as I showed you, it gives them a really clean landing page. So before they had that ugly page, the gray background, and I don't know, it's just a bunch of text. Now it gives them this nice looking interface that really gives them this clear checklist of here's the things that you have to do to finalize your booking. It also shows them a property of a summary. If they pull down and expand this booking, they can see their booking dates. They can see, and this caused some concern up front. There's a link that says directions, and that uses the Google link to currently to show them, directions to the property. Now, there are a lot of people that have been like, well, I don't want to show them the directions this early in the process, or my Google link isn't really a great link to my property. So we are, fret not, we hear those things, and we're going to be adding settings so that you can either say, don't show the directions at all, or maybe we're going to have alternate directions that you can add in if your Google link doesn't work properly. So that is one of the big complaints we got when we first rolled this out. And like I said, we definitely hear you. So that was what I'm talking about, is right here on the full size. It's here under directions. And if, this property is located here. So if I click directions, it's basically just using that address to create a Google map and give them driving directions, right? So some people have said, well, that's not good for my property. I can't use that, so like I said, we're going to make a setting so that you can change how that's displayed. So, and then like I said, if I go back into mobile view, because that's what I was showing in the other one, when you drop it down, that's where now this directions are shown and add to calendar, and here's the dates. So I will tell you, most guests, especially on mobile, probably aren't even going to click that. So I know a lot of people were really concerned about them seeing all this stuff. They probably won't really see it if they're on their phone. They can, but the odds of them seeing that are lower than when it's on the computer. So just something to realize. But okay. Shows them the requirements checklist and that add to calendar function, which I think that's a really nice thing too, right? Like they can click this and it will add it, right? If they're using Google Calendar or whatnot, they can add the stay directly to their calendar, which is a nice feature that we did not have before. So, it creates this ICS file, and then they can click that and add it to whatever calendar they're using. All right. So, our guest details form, as I showed you before, it was kind of old and clunky looking. Here's what it looks like now. Much more modern, rounded corners, just better looking fields, but really the same concept as before. Not much has changed here. We're asking them to update their name, their email address, their phone number, manual address. Down here, we see additional questions. This is just an example of a custom field. On mine personal property, I think I pulled this from my account. I asked for a door lock code. I don't assume they want to use the last four of their phone number. That's just something I personally do. Maybe you have a custom field that asks them what their license plate number is, or how many the names of the other people in their party. So just to show you, your custom fields will still show. So, and any information we get from the channels up front, if that's first name, last name, that's going to be pre-filled here, so they don't have to type it all in again. Additional questions are through the custom fields, like I said. And if you want to, get a copy of the photo ID, none of that's changed. They can still upload that via the custom field. So, but basically, it's just a much cleaner looking form. The other big thing that this introduced, and I didn't touch on this, and I don't think it's in my slides elsewhere, is it's now, language specific too. So let's say you have a guest visiting from France, right? And, all our forms are in English, but they're more comfortable looking at this in French. They can click French and change it right on the fly. And now it's all in French. So that's another great added feature that we did not have before, right? So, let's see. Okay, so next, after they fill that out, they get into the requirement of signing the rental agreement. And once again, before it was good, but it was on a separate page. A lot of people would get. We have guests I've heard of that would get there and maybe question whether they have to sign the rental agreement, and they would leave, right? And then you talk to them, and when they come back, maybe it's just not as clean of an experience. Now it's going to remember exactly what they filled out, what they haven't filled out. That requirements list is going to be updated, and they're going to see, hey, I need to sign the renter agreement. And so they can go right to signing that. But just like before, they can review the terms, they can sign it, and then at the end of it, it's going to give them the option to download it later. So, and I'll show you that once again. I don't want to fill this out prematurely, but I'm going to go through the demo and show you how all this works here in just a second. And Carl, I see you have another question. I'll get to that in just a second. So securing deposits, even on Airbnb and VRBO, you might, Vrbo, obviously you're already gonna have the credit card information. So since you already have it, it's smart. It's not going to ask for that again. But on Airbnb, if you're doing security holds, you don't have a credit card. So it's going to show that as a requirement if you require that. And it's going to say, please put in your credit card information, and it's going to tell them how that works. And once again, if you don't require it, you don't do security holds, then it will not be shown on the form, and it won't be a requirement. But once again, this process is just much cleaner, very straightforward, and it's secure. So it schedules them just like before. Really, nothing's changed here, but it is just a powerful feature we've always had, and we continue to have in this new flow. The next thing they'll see too is travel insurance options, right? So, and once again, if it's a last minute booking and they can't buy insurance because it's too close, it won't even be shown. If it's an option that they can buy, then they'll have this option. It's going to show them the travel insurance options, and they, in a very clean manner, and they can choose what they want to do. If they decline it, the cool thing now, before if they declined it, they would never be shown it again. If your guests actually save this link and they come back to it later in the process, they're going to see, oh, travel insurance, I declined that. But you know what? Maybe they've changed their mind. Maybe something came up and they're like, you know what? I do want to buy the travel insurance. It will be shown to them right there on that guest portal, so that it gives them this flexibility to revisit this decision and purchase it later if they're still eligible. as I've said, once or twice, because I think this is just really important, it basically saves the progress. So the guest starts, they start booking. Maybe they have to check with a spouse. Maybe they have a question for you. Maybe whatever. But they get distracted. They leave. They close the browser. If they come back to that link later, it's going to give them that clear list of, oh, remember you did 1 and 2, but you still need to do 3 and 4. Um, Basically, this should help reduce cart abandonment. And but also, we want to create this as frictionless as possible. We want to make it a frustration free experience for the traveler. And we think that what we've designed really does do that. So, I will say, for those of you saying, oh, well, Steve, when you first released this, there was this, oh, I see Trent already came. Are you going to expire the link? Right now, we have set it back to where it doesn't expire. But in the future, yes, there will be an authorization process. What we're looking for doing, once again, we want to create as frictionless as possible. So basically, what we're thinking about is right now there is no expiration. We've turned that off for right now. But when somebody first comes in, they don't have any PII, which is personal identifying information. So how I told you before, it pre-filled, we might have to not pre-fill it. So there's no PII. Email address is PII, phone number is PII, their physical address. If we just left it with no expiration, then hackers could, do a brute force and find the URL, and they could get in and they could do damage, right? So we have to have some kind of verification to protect that personal identifying information. That's part of it's just internet standards, and it's part of being a PCI compliant company. We do have to protect that information. So what we're talking about doing is having the initial time they go to the link, it not have a verification. So the main primary renter goes and they can fill it out right away, no problem. It doesn't it doesn't ask them for verification. And then it will set a cookie on the machine that will be good for like 30 days or something like that. Um, so then, well, Trent, PCI isn't just credit card data. I mean, it is partially credit. I mean, it's mostly credit card data. Okay, but it's PII is a very important thing that you want to protect. Do you not agree that you don't want to protect people's personal identifying information? Um, so, anyways, um, there'll be a cookie that it will expire. Probably we don't have all the details whether it's 30 or 60 days. But that initial user will be able to get in frictionless. Now, let's say they share it with another person in their party because they want them to have details. They will have to authenticate. But the authentication is going to be, we're going to make that as smooth as possible. Think about when you book an airline flight and you have to, they send you, like I booked something the other day on Expedia, and it told me to go to Delta to, fill out more details. And I had to put in my last name and my 5-digit booking number. We're probably going to do something like that, as well as having an email verification as a backup where it will email the primary user and they'll have to get a code, kind of like Airbnb does, right? Like if you send it to somebody else, Airbnb will say, send a code to the primary user. You have to share that code with somebody else. So yes, right now the verification is not there because we're coming up to do it to make it as seamless as possible. But in the future, there will be verification involved. So, but right now, as of today, it's just a direct BU fix up replacement. Like you said, the credit card data isn't in there. We don't have upsells in there yet. There's other things I'm going to get into the roadmap. But once those things are all in there, we'll definitely need verification. So anyways, I think I covered this slide. Move on. So once they've done all your requirements, they've done the main things. The main things in there right now are updating the contact info, signing the renter agreement, purchasing travel insurance, all of that. They'll be shown this screen that clearly shows them, hey, you're all done, you're set up, you're good to go. And this is the link now. If you ever send BU fix up later on in the workflow, they'll be brought right to this screen. Um, and this is where, once again, they can revisit. If they want to edit their contact info, they can go to see contact information and they can change that. If they want to download the renter agreement, they can do that there. If they need to add their travel insurance, these are the things that they'll be able to do. I do see your questions. I will definitely get to those here in a minute. I just want to get through to this. So, all right. So outside, well, and I guess we're to the point. Let me go ahead and show the guest experience side of it now. So, so if I was a guest and I got this link, this is where I would see. They could click on the get started. You can actually click. Some people were like, well, these radio buttons look like, if I was a guest, I would probably want to click on these radio buttons. So we've made those clickable and they will go to the same place as getting started. So your user comes in here and I already have his email. It's Bob Jones or whatever. So maybe he fills out his first name. He can update his address if he wants. And in this one, I'm asking for parking information. The HOA needs it for the parking pass. So they need to say Bob Jones is the primary driver and he's 45 years old and he drives a Honda Civic. I don't know. So they put in that information and it takes them to the next page, which is signing the renter agreement. So they can read through everything just like before. They see an actual signature, so it looks like they're actually signing it. But the most important part is we're capturing a date stamp and we're capturing their IP address. Can you add fields to the form? Yes, custom fields. If I go back to this edit contact info, this was a custom field, this additional questions. So any custom fields, booking level custom fields you add will be shown in this additional questions section. So once again, they're going to sign it. I didn't hit save. I had gone back. So now they sign the agreement. And last is they're going to, well, actually I'm on 2 of 4 requirements. So it's kind of clear that they're progressing through the list here. And they can put in their credit card information and, expires whenever. And it's just a test account, so it shouldn't matter. Oh, it didn't. I don't have the right number. I did it. Well, anyways, I can do that later. This will be a good thing of showing you it's not. So see the author security deposit into that step that he needs to finish them. So when we come back to the booking overview, if I refresh the screen, like I said, it was a real time, you can see he confirmed the contact info and he signed the renter agreement, but he still has to do these 2 things. One thing a lot of people ask too is, well, you visited the guest portal. Why does that say not visited? I visited as the host. And when you do that, we put in stuff so that you can visit it, but not mark that off. If you wanted to test this, if you actually go incognito instead, or in a different browser, like if I use Microsoft Edge to visit, it's not going to recognize that I'm the same user, and it will then mark off that requirement. So here I'm going to go on Microsoft Edge. I visited it, looking at stuff. I can now exit out of this browser, and when we come back here, it will say that I visited that guest portal. So anyways, very clear, what's going on with the booking. And then on the bookings list page too, you can see, well, he's not fully done. It's pending. So, if you have a bunch of bookings here, you can see at a glance who's totally done, who's halfway through, or it would be red and would say requirements not met if they haven't even started. So that's what my next slide goes into. Here is the real-time tracking. So on the list view, you can see who's met the requirements, who's in the middle of them, and who hasn't met them. So, once again, this is just a huge upgrade from what we had before, because you never really knew, did they finish the, we had some tags, and some people set up auto tags to see if the renter agreement was signed or not. But I think this is a much cleaner way to see what has been done, what hasn't been done, all of that good stuff. Once again, these are all great questions. If you can, move those. I think it gives you an option. If you click on it, you can move it to the Q&A. Stuff tends to get buried in the chat, so if you can put your questions in the Q&A, that would be great. All right. So yeah, real-time tracking just helps you identify bottlenecks. The biggest thing it's funny, people will be like, oh, it's a day before their arrival, and they're like, they didn't sign my renter agreement. I'm going to follow up with them and make sure they sign it. I'm not going to give them their lock codes if they haven't signed it, things of that nature. Well, now you have a guest about to come on their vacation that's upset. They begrudgingly do it, but they're not happy with you as a host. I think it's so much better to see these well in advance and be able to react to them up front, so that you've gotten all these requirements done months, sometimes, depending on how long your booking cycle is, but months, weeks, days before the booking arrives, not just that day of, right? The last thing you ever want is you have stuff where you don't send something out until maybe you don't send out doorbell, they've signed your agreement. And here you have a guest sitting on your front porch. Hey, I can't get in. I don't have a door code. Oh, well, you never signed my rental agreement. Once you do that, I'll let you in. It's just not a great experience, right? So being able to see all this up front is going to help, build your guest experience, get you better reviews, which will hopefully result in, better revenue. So, all right. I see there are questions about when to put it in the templates and where to do. So, I do want to show you just best practices for optimal performance. So, first of all, we do have a lot of people I've seen with tons of custom fields, and you might want to look at those and revisit them. You want to keep custom fields concise. Only really use the required necessary information. Don't go too deep. But up to you. I'm not going to tell you how to run your business, but I'm just saying we're all about reducing guest friction. If you have 50 questionnaire, 50 fields of questions you ask, that's not necessarily a great guest experience. You can set up all sorts of reminders and whatnot to keep guests on track, and that's what I'm going to show you here in a second, and help reduce your time, following up on this. But now you have, a screen. You can go to that bookings list view to actively monitor portal requirements so that you ensure that smooth check-in process for every reservation. Once again, you're not waiting until they're on your doorstep. So if we go to look at templates now, and for the most part, most of you are not going to have to change your templates. But if you're newer, or maybe you just it's time to update your flow a little bit, I just put some examples in here. So, the primary one most have is this, right? You just have request rental agreement for channel bookings. I've added initial request. And, that email, you're basically saying, hey, thanks for booking. You're going to send this out. It's going to be triggered as soon as the booking's created. And you're saying, hey, can you take a second to click this link? It's going to open up. And, maybe we want to change this language. This is the old language, point of contact form and renter agreement that we ask all guests to sign. And it's going to have the link. And then we generally, in the old template, we also put just the text. That way, if for some reason it didn't show, they could always copy and paste this if their browser doesn't, make the link properly. But this is the existing template that probably 90% of you have in your accounts, if you haven't disabled it. What I've always recommended, and I don't think that recommendation changes, is then you can make a first reminder or something, right? So here I have a reminder where my language gets a little more stern. It says, thanks again for booking. Well, this one I don't get stern, but this is a friendly reminder that you still need to do your renter's agreement. As noted in the house rules, this is a required step for all reservations. Once again, here's the link. And here's where I do get a little more stern. I say, please complete it within the next 48 hours. If you don't, I might have to cancel your booking. Nobody wants their booking canceled. Maybe that's the push they need to get this done. Once again, you use whatever language you're comfortable with. You don't have to say that, but this is what I personally do in my rental, and I've never, most people are like, oh, I'm so sorry, I meant to fill that out, and I'm going to fill it out right now. So, but anyways, this can be automated. I've set up a trigger that sends this 2 days after the booking's created, only if the renter agreement signed is no. Now, right now, I will tell you one of the things we're going to be adding is new statuses for all requirements are met, or different things around the requirements. Right now, we don't have that, but you can still do it. Basically, security deposit status is a requirement. Rental agreement is a requirement. So, the big thing is I want to control this on. Main thing I want done personally is the renter agreement signed. So that's why I've added this condition. If the renter agreement's not signed, I want to send it to them again. Something else you can do is send yourself a follow-up or something, because let's face it, after you send it to them 1 or 2 times, sending it a third time, a fourth time, they're probably still they're just not reading their email, or they're not doing whatever. So here, 4 days after the booking's created, the last one I sent 2 days, now 4 days after, I send myself an email that's got the details of the booking, and it gives me a nice link. I can just click on this and it'll take me right into OwnerRez. And, I basically say, look, they're not following the link. They're not doing what I do. I might need to call them or text them or try a different way. So this is just a notification to myself that they're still not doing it. And then something else you can do, here I have a pre-stay follow-up, I've called it. And I'm sending this 7 days before the booking arrives. And I've worded this in such a way, hey, I'm trying to get them excited about their stay. Your stay is right around the corner. As you get ready, you can visit your guest portal anytime to review things. Click this link, It's also a great time to double check that everything's accurate and complete. So now I'm sending them a third one without really saying I'm sending them a third one, but hopefully it's in their face if they do go to the link. Maybe hitting them this different way, they will look at it now because they're like, oh, this is good information I need to go look at. But it's going to show them that checklist again. It's going to show them what have they done or not done. So maybe just wording it a different way gets to them. I like putting photos in my templates so that it grabs their attention. So, you can do something like that. I created this in AI, but yeah, so that's just some example, but your templates, whenever you want to send them this link, is controlled by the BU fix up, field code. And basically when you enter in the link, you're going to put what the type is, and you're going to say it's this booking cleanup link. And that's what's going to generate the link to the portal. So like I said, you can send it to them multiple times throughout the guest journey. You could, in the first email too, say, hey, save this link to your bookmarks, because it's something you can access later. Totally up to you. But once they have that link, it should create a cookie eventually. If their cookie's expired or whatever, it's just when they follow the link, it's going to ask them to authorize. But once again, the authorization's not in place as of today. So that's just some examples of how you can set up your templates. So just a couple of common questions I've heard that I put in here. We talked about this, I think. Can guests return later to finish requirements, and do existing templates still work? Yes, as long as your templates. Now, there are a lot of people out there that weren't using BU Fixup. They were using BU Lease or field codes having to do directly with security deposits. If you are using BU Lease, that will still work too, but realize that goes to a separate standalone form that only has them sign the renter agreement. It doesn't do all these other things. The BU Fixup is kind of a dynamic smart field, if you will, that has them do, other things. So, I would recommend using BU Fixup. Unless you have a case where you're having them sign a very specific lease, maybe your standard renter agreement is what BU Fixup has them sign, but then you have another one where you have to sign an addendum, like a golf cart addendum or something. That's a good use of BU Lease still. But I know there are some people, especially older clients, that might be using BU Lease instead of BU Fixup. So in that case, you might want to update your templates to use BU Fixup to take advantage of these new things. What if visit guest portal is unchecked or security deposits aren't required? So if visit guest portal isn't checked, that doesn't necessarily mean it's 100% incomplete, but it can indicate that it's incomplete, right? It just means they haven't seen that portal. Maybe you, like you said, you sent them the BU lease or something another way, so they've still signed those agreements, but they just didn't get the guest portal. Um, but if you go to properties and go to rules, so yeah, if I go to, let's just go to this one, and in rules, here renter agreement will be chosen. I can change that. I could go in here and I could say, you know what, this property doesn't require a renter agreement. And then any, you know, any of the guests that go through my portal or my stay for this property, that won't be, you know, on it. I mean, we can make a booking real quick just to show you. What was that? That was Sunridge Retreat. So if I created a booking just real quick for that one, override that. So you'll see signed renter agreement isn't even one of the requirements. And if the guest went to that portal link, you'll see they just have to confirm the contact info, do the security deposit, and they're offered travel insurance. But signing the renter agreement's not part of these bookings because I turned it off in the rules. So hopefully that helps answer that question. Okay, before getting to looking ahead, let me look at the questions we got so far. So, okay, so Sherry asked, okay, so say someone still needs to do the security deposit. I send them their unique guest portal link, correct? Yeah, I mean, you can do it both ways. I mean, I always like you to know there are two ways. I mean, if they really just need to do the security deposit and they've done everything else, you can still request. This is a standalone form that you can request just the security deposit from them. You know, and then this is just the security deposit form. They're filling out the credit card details, all of that, you know, so that's this form. So you can send that still. That's not a problem. But you could also send, you know, the booking cleanup link, which is the BU Fixup. And it's going to tell them that, you know, they've done this and this, but they haven't done the security deposit. So, you know, once again, it's up to you. If you, you know, maybe on something like the security hold, you want to send them the direct link to it. But you can do either way. So Carl says, sorry, Steve, I need to come up to speed on this. So far, I like this. Do you have a video on what we need to do to put in this? No, this, we had a first look video that went out. And it was very basic, but this is the video. That's why we're having this session today to kind of talk about it. But really, and Carl, I know I've worked extensively in your account. Check your templates. I'm pretty sure you have BU Fixup in your templates. If you do, there's nothing else you have to do. This is just a, you know, a new feature basically. But yeah, so Steve, is there a way to link the specific guest portal link into their guidebook? Also, is there a way to trigger for pets? Say a guest is bringing a pet. Now there's another step with pet screening. Will that become a step in the process? No, that's a good feature request. I mean, we could definitely, I know, yeah, like pet screening has a great tool with us. So maybe that is something we want to look at making an optional requirement. But as of today, no, that's not, one of our requirements. Um, and can you add the portal link into the guidebook? No, not right now, because each one's it's dynamic and it's unique. And it's actually, once we get into verification and stuff, the link might actually change over time for each booking. So no, right now you can't, it needs to be generated from OwnerRez in a template of some sort. So that's a great question. Now, and I haven't gotten in the roadmap yet. I am going to get in the roadmap. A lot of that might be fixed because we do plan on adding more guidebook capabilities to this. So, hopefully we get that robust enough that you don't have to use a third-party guidebook. You just send them this link, and not only are they confirming their booking and everything else, but they're going to get all your guidebook information. So, anyways, yeah. Steve, if I want to book a session with OR to review my settings, templates, some are a bit old, and you're using pet screen. Yeah, no, absolutely. You know that, Carl. We've always done sessions like that. So, and that goes for anybody. If you want somebody to review your templates or whatnot, you just email help@ownerrez.com and let them know, you'd like to schedule with you. And our engagement team will send you a link and you can get on their schedule. So, what other state information can you add to this? I mean, right now, once again, let me get into the roadmap. And I think maybe that will become more clear. You're saying like driving directions, door code, Wi-Fi. Yes, that's all coming very, very soon. Now, link to contact the owner. I mean, I will say this is themed right now. So at the bottom, email address, phone number, and whatnot is on the form. But we do have plans to be able to add those other things. So I'll get into that soon. So I'm a bit confused. The BU fix up, is this something we need to do? It's a field code. It's a field code in your template. So, I mean, once again, I think your templates, Carl, probably have them in it already. But if not, when you're creating a template, you always have the option to put in field codes. All BU fix up is it's under booking. And this has always been here for all time. This hasn't changed. But it says a one-time link to the guest portal for this booking. You can insert that. Now, this is just going to be a non-clickable link if you do it that way. If you come here and say insert link, I can change that to now be a clickable link. And when I preview it, here's the ugly link, but it is clickable. If I wanted that to maybe be cleaner, when I'm doing the link, I can change the text here to, instead of BU fix up, I can say link to your My Stay guest portal. Right? So now the link is still there. That's still going to go to the portal, but it's a lot prettier. So, okay, Andrea, unrelated to a point, recently a guest asked me if they have to take the offered travel insurance on top of the one of the Airbnb offered them. I honestly do not know what Airbnb's covers. Yeah, I mean, if Airbnb is offering them travel insurance and they bought that, I mean, Airbnb doesn't offer travel insurance for free. That's for sure. What they offer is air cover, which is a free damage protection that Airbnb offers. But travel insurance is like what you take when you go on an airplane or whatever, right? You're basically saying, look, I'm willing to pay 10% that if I get sick or my plans change or whatever, I can get back money. So no, I mean, in the insurance world, having double coverage never makes sense. So if they are buying a travel insurance elsewhere, then no, they wouldn't want to buy your travel insurance too. But it is just a nice thing to offer. And that's why what's really nice is how it offers it, there's a right below it. It basically says, let me go into this booking real quick. So, and just FYI, for instance, I don't want to have the security deposit because I don't have a credit card to put in here. So I'm going to tell it I don't need the security deposit on this booking. And you'll see it's taken now off of the requirements. And although this one's, so now I should be able to see the travel insurance piece. So yeah, I mean, but basically it should give them the information they need here. Um, they can review details, what's covered, what, all of that. And then they can choose, do they want standard travel insurance that protects for stuff like illness, injury? There's certain covered reasons, or they can do what they call CFAR, cancel for any reason. Now it's a little more expensive, but they can choose which one they want. Um, so, hopefully with this new form, you get less questions like that, Andrea. I mean, they can read, I would just say, look, I'm providing you the option to buy the insurance. You know, um, you need to educate yourself, Mr. Guest, and decide whether you want to buy it or not. You know, but yeah, but anyways, they can say, no, I don't want it. They say save and continue. And then when they go back to their form, it's going to be clear that they declined this. But the nice part before, like I said, if they declined it on the old forms, they had no way to get back to it. Now, when they're here, they can always come back in and say, oh, wait, maybe I do want to buy it. So I guess, too, if you have a guest that's on the fence, just tell them, look, decline it for now. And if you change your mind, you can always come back to it later. Sherry, following up with security deposit, is there a daily to chance the word change? I don't. I think you misworded this, but is there something that changed the wording on a guest portal to say something like, "This is a temporary hold only, not a charge," or maybe like an option to add the warning so the guests can see it's a temporary hold? I mean, I think it's pretty clear that it is. Let me get through this one real quick. When it's a hold, now I think we are going to. I think I saw a card where they're going to put more on when it's held because right now, like my rules are, I hold it 2 days prior to arrival, and that's not clear here. It's just saying we're going to verify and place the hold. So I think they're changing this to update the dates more, but it does tell them it's a hold here. Um, No, I mean, as far as I know, we're not having a field on here where you can add your own details or whatnot. But obviously, you can always set that expectation in your template that you send them. You could say, please fill out this link. And by the way, during it, there's going to be information about a security deposit. Here's some more information about how that all works. Um, I've done that in some of my templates, and I rarely get questions about the security hold. Knock on wood. Um, so I mean, but obviously, we're always open to change. So if you want, Sherry, put a feature request on the forum and tell us exactly, where you'd like to change it, and maybe we'll add a user configurable way. A lot of these things, the forums are, we want to protect users that might not be as savvy as you. you know, um, I don't know if people start putting their own information in, it can create what we call foot guns, where they're shooting themselves in the foot. But like I said, always open for feedback. So, um, if a guest came from Airbnb, I prefer that all their info comes from Airbnb, the exception of signing the rent agreement. Is there a way not to use this at all? Yeah, the way not to use it at all, Tom, is don't send them the BU fix-up link. You could send them, if you want them to sign the rent agreement, you can just send them the BU lease. But I mean, BU lease, I think it's still going to ask them to fill in their info. Because, like, for instance, I mean, with Airbnb, they don't give you an email address. So if you do not use this, you're never going to have an email address, which means you can't do any post-stay follow-up because once the booking's done, they turn off their messenger. Um, so up to you. I mean, you don't have to use it. I mean, just don't send them the BU fix up link in any of your templates, and they won't go through this process. Um, but we do feel it's pretty important to get that additional information from them. Airbnb is becoming more and more of a closed, um, garden, a walled garden. They want to keep all the information for themselves, and we feel it's your guest, and it's kind of important to get some of that information. So, um, I guess the question is, am I covered if they purchase Airbnb travel insurance and not the one we offer? I mean, on the travel insurance, it's not you being covered at all. It's them being covered against your cancellation policy. If your cancellation policy is no refunds within 30 days, or maybe you're on strict 14 or whatever it's called now, where they get no refund if they cancel within then 14. What the what the insurance is doing is they're paying the insurance to say, hey, if I do cancel on day 12 or day 7 or whatever, I still want to be able to get my money back. I mean, you as a host are covered by your cancellation policy. If they cancel within the 14 days, you get to keep the money, or whatever your cancellation policy is. So it's not about covering you, it's about covering the guest. Um, you get no money from an insurance policy, a travel insurance policy. That is between the guest and the travel insurance. And if they do qualify for any money, that money's paid directly from an insurance company to the guest. So, yeah, you don't have to worry, Andrea, about yourself being. It's if the guest is going to be covered, So, um, all right. Or only use it with certain platforms such as direct booking. Yeah, once again, Tom, the it depends on how you want to send the BU fix up link out. So if you want to send up a template that's only going to direct bookings, then you can do that. Airbnb, we don't have an email up front. So if you do set these up as email templates, they're not going to go to Airbnb. It only goes to Airbnb if you set it up as a channel template and you're sending it through the channel. So you're in complete control who you send it to, when you send it, all of that. So, Carl, where do I look to see if I have the BU fix up? I'm looking now at settings, not sure where the BU fix up is in your templates. So you would have to look at the renter agreement, whatever you're sending to your guests as part of your template. So once again, you had mentioned getting a review done. I would, encourage you, set up a call with the team and they'll be able to show you exactly where those things are set up if you're confused. So awesome. All right. Well, I think that is so. Let me get back to the show here. So the next part I wanted to go into is looking ahead. So I think we've covered how it works today. But the next things that make this really exciting, and two, I know Tom, you said you might not want to use this right now, but I think you'll see once we add all these other things why this will be so important to use regardless of the channel, because it's going to help you make more revenue. It's going to help you better inform your guests. So anyways, the next thing that we want to add is ID verification. I think we're partnering with, what's it called? Slipping my mind right now. There's a company we're partnering with that we're going to have ID verification go through. And especially important for direct bookings. I think it's important for all bookings because I know people are like, well, they're verified through Airbnb. No, they're not. Airbnb doesn't run a host through, or not a host, a guest through any database or anything. I can sign up for a new Airbnb account today and book a property today, and they don't really check anything on that guest. So I think this is going to be a great thing. We're going to be able to, verify it's going to go through, national databases, crime, pedophile, all these good things, and see, are there any red flags with the guest? Have they been accused of fraud before? Have they, I don't know, things to protect you as the host. So that's exciting. And that's going to be part of this process. It's going to be added right in. We're going to have even more robust custom forms. Right now, you can ask extra questions through the custom field codes, but we want to have actual custom forms. So that's something that we're looking at adding soon. Upsells, right now we have a way after the fact. You can, well, for direct bookings, they can do upsells through a direct booking because that's through our confirm and pay form. But we don't have a great way, even if you have what we call optional surcharges and OwnerRez, to send that to channel guests. So through this, we're hoping to add those optional surcharges, or AKA upsells, right to this form, so that, after they've completed the requirements, maybe it will have another page or something that says, hey, by the way, here's some additional things that you can purchase. Do you want to, add a case of water to the fridge, case of bottled water? Do you want us to put chocolates on the bed? Do you want firewood? I don't know, whatever things you can think of that you can upsell to make some additional revenue. That's going to be part of this form. Somebody mentioned before door codes and Wi-Fi passwords. Yes, we definitely want to be able to add that. So it's right here on this form. Right now, we accomplish that by sending separate templates that have that information, because we have that info in OwnerRez. But we want to be able to send that through this. But once again, that will become where it's even that more important to verify and make sure the person looking at the link is the right person. You don't want to put a door code on an unsecured link that's hackable. So that's why I think we've held off on adding those things. But once we get the verification piece down, we'll probably be adding door codes and Wi-Fi passwords as well. Multi-guest signing. We have a lot of clients that have, a standard renter agreement, and then they have addendums. They have sign my golf cart agreement, sign this agreement, sign the local HOA agreement. I don't know. And you can do that today, but the problem is when you go to put in, if they send it to another guest, let's say, to sign it and fill it out, it will overwrite the primary guest info because there's only one contact associated with the booking right now. So we want to make that better. We want to make it so that, for groups, you can have multiple people signing the renter agreements and sign, multiple agreements. So we're going to come up with a way to do that as well. And then the real exciting things, and these two are more stretches, they might be later on, but guest messaging, right now we have SMS, but we may even we're working actively to bring email into the inbox so that we can have that's the one thing that makes it not a unified inbox. Our emails still go to your email client, right? So we want emails to come in. Once we do that, we might even come up with a way to have direct guest messaging through this portal. Right now you have SMS, right? You can SMS them and that comes into the inbox. But wouldn't it be cool if there was a box in this portal that says, hey, click here to chat with your host? Much like Airbnb or VRBO, right? But we would have our own portal messaging. So that's something we're working on implementing. And then eventually a guidebook, so there's so many companies out there that do guidebooks, but we feel we can do that pretty easily and make that part of this flow that's going out anyways. So I think once all these things are in place too, it's going to be even more of a no-brainer why you need this portal. So anyways, yeah. Sherry says, yes, and it was somehow automated to collect money. I always have to manually set reminders to collect any money that's due for upsells. Yes. Yep. So no, that would all be built in. So yeah, super exciting. I think these things are really going to take it to the next level. But we had to start somewhere. We don't like just holding a feature and waiting until it's perfect. We actually have a thing here that says, don't let perfect be the enemy of good, right? Like, let's get something out that's good. It might not be perfect yet, but it's good and it's better than what we had. So once we add all these things, that will be going towards perfection. Um, so all right. Well, and I know I've already answered questions, but I did just want to leave time. Let's just see if there's anything else that I missed here. Tom, I recently booked a stay through Airbnb. Between Airbnb, their PMS, and the owner, I was deluged with messages. I'm trying to minimize communication overload to the guests. I'm not opposed to this, but I'm concerned about all the additional messages the guest receives that I'm not aware of. I mean, the good thing is, I mean, personally, I turn off the messages in Airbnb. I don't have any scheduled messages going through Airbnb. They all go through OwnerRez. So you 100% should be aware of what's being sent. In a booking, there is that activity timeline. So, once everything's set up properly, and you go into a booking now, I haven't sent anything here, so it's going to be empty. But you have your inbox, so you can see all the messages in the inbox that were sent. But then there should be the activity timeline too. Like, so down here, and this is right now. Remember, emails aren't in, but so see, I emailed them about the renter agreement here 29 minutes ago. But you would see a list of all the emails that were sent. Personally, though, I don't know. I err on the side of, I've booked on Vrbo or Airbnb before and not gotten one email from the host. I haven't gotten, my door codes. I haven't gotten anything. And here I am the night before emailing them saying, hey, um, well, when are you going to send me information? They're like, oh, I forgot or whatever, right? And that's your normal host. So I don't know. I would rather err on the side of sending them too much information than not enough. I don't think I've never gotten, and I send quite a bit of messaging probably. I've never gotten somebody that said, man, I had a bad experience because Steve sent me too much information. Never happened. But I have tons of reviews where people are like, it was so refreshing that I knew exactly what was going on with my booking. It was nice. Steve was always available. Now, a lot of that is actually Resi and AI answering, but people want communication. So, I mean, I hear what you're saying, but I don't know. I think over communication is better than under communication if I had to pick the two. So, Carl says, work faster. I love that idea. I'll give you some of my AI tokens. That's funny. We actually do hit a AI token limit sometimes. But yeah, no, we have a great dev team. But obviously, the faster we work, the more bugs are introduced, the more things that can go wrong. So, yeah, we still take things slow and steady. We have a great QA team that takes their time testing because we want to release things as full featured as possible. So all right. Well, I think that brings us to the end of our session here. I do appreciate everybody's time. Always like to end on this slide. I think most of you are users, so you've probably seen this before. But if you are newer, your first spot to go to help is our support docs, ownerrez.com/support. You can also ask Resi in-app or from the support site. You can chat directly with Resi. It does a great job of summarizing the documentation and giving you a clearer view. Zach, who's in the audience, who's helped me out today, he's our main man for making support videos. Plus, we have these videos, like these webinar videos. So take a look at those. If you do have any questions that maybe they're not even just about how OwnerRez works, it's more a business question like, why should I do this? How should they do this? All our users have access to our forums. We have 8,000 users. So, maybe you put a post on there and you get an answer from somebody else. So check out the forums. They're a great wealth of information. Our blog, that's where we release all our new feature updates and things of that nature. And worst comes to worst, if none of those help, email us, help@ownerrez.com. We'll try to answer you the best we can. If we can't, we can set up a one-on-one, like I was telling you earlier, and, meet with you and get it done. So awesome. Well, I really appreciate everybody. And I hope everybody, I just saw chat come in. Thank you. You're very welcome. Oh, and Zach, I mentioned, yeah, I guess I should have mentioned that, Zach. So I appreciate that. We do have, and now it is mainly in the Southeast. I know some of the users I'm seeing here in the Northeast, but hey, if you want an expensive vacation and come down and see us, we are having a road show coming up August 1st through August 5th at 3 different locations in the Southeast. Oh, that's not my website. That's not right. Um, if you come here to events, you can see the information about the road show. But first stop is in Blue Ridge, Georgia, August 1st, Gulf Shores, Alabama, August 3rd, and then Tampa, Florida, August 5th. We tried to pick locations that, are a little underserved by the normal conference scene. Normally the conferences go to, Las Vegas and I don't know, Nashville and big cities, right? So we want to pick some cities that we have a lot of users in so that we can actually meet with our users. But this is going to be a free 1 day education seminar. If anybody's near that area or would like to come take a trip and come visit us, we'd love to see you there. So, all right, with that, I'll close it out and hope everybody has a great rest of their day. Take care. Bye-bye.